Did I?
I want to say yes.
Maybe. All right.
So are you cool with the name for that?
What's that?
Flagged.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of cool. Why not? I don't know.
Monkey's uncle.
Here. Oh, pardon me. Sorry.
When you get back on mic, give me some Garrusar level talking so I can adjust your volume here.
All right. Hey, guys. Yeah, I'm really excited about doing this. Let's talk some PvP and kick some ass and take some names. How about that?
How about you catch me outside? How about that?
Oh, boy.
Jaga laga laga laga.
Foxy, how about you?
How about me?
How about you now?
How about me now? How do you like me now?
I think we're good.
Yeah? All right. I'm assuming you tweeted. 'Cause you're pretty cool like that.
I haven't Twittered yet, but I can in 1 second.
All right.
Twit?
Twitted the tweets.
Dost thou even twit?
Dost thou twit? Dost thou tweet? If sometimes I have shit, then I have shot. If I twit, do I?
Twat? What?
Okay. Oh shit, are we live?
Yep.
Hello?
Yo.
And it's been Twittered.
The Twitters have been tweeted.
Things have been Twitterized. Well, if you give me 1 second here, I can write something to say.
Alright. Here. Oh, I need to do this. Here we go. Get rid of all those sounds from Discord so it doesn't make noises on you.
Make some noise.
Yeah, we're gonna have echoes today. Doesn't sound
I
like
think
it.
only if we talk when Ryan is talking.
Only if.
Echo.
And only you hear the echo, not me.
Oh yeah. That's awesome. All right, buddy. What you doing here?
Foxy, you have any clever taglines you want me to say after the introduction?
Like what?
Insert clever tagline.
Oh, welcome to Flag, the PvP roundtable for our PvPers. By PvP.
So far, I've got Welcome to Flag, a roundtable PvP discussion about the World of WarCraft, presented by the Victors Sanctum, technically PvP, and FoxyHippo RPGs.
Okay.
It's a threesome.
That's better than mine.
I don't know if we want that.
What does that make Andelin the director?
Cut.
Depends on how much he gets involved.
That's true.
He might just be a voyeur. So what's the goal of this podcast? Like the abstract goal from month to month?
To have us just sit around
Yeah.
and talk about things
To get
and
together and have a shit show.
Yeah.
Well, like if you were to do one for Victors Sanctum, you know, the news segment of it, it would be basically to go through the highlights of the patch notes, right? More or less.
Yeah, I think mostly this is just kind of what I've always gotten out of this for us doing this is just kind of our experiences, just sitting down and talking about, you know, this is where PvP is at for us, and just kind of having conversation about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that this is PvP story time.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I guess the one other thing I would say, this is, I think like the last time we did it, it was more, you know, those conversations that we have on Discord. You guys always talk about them. It was like, hey, we were talking to, and this came up. And it was a great subject. So, if we could do that without like scripting it, I guess. And that's the thing, like this is kind of cool because it was like we didn't pre-script this at all. It's just this is just stuff that kind of popped up and when we were kind of thinking about stuff. No different than it's like, hey, I know this other person is really into this thing and I want to talk to him about something. What would you talk to him about? Here we are, right? So I don't know.
I mean, I think we've got some pretty good subjects on here that will pop.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
So
I think so
before
as
we
well.
get into this too terribly far, is there anything that you guys definitely, especially Andelin, since you weren't here when we were typing all this out, is there anything that you see that you would like to talk about before anything else?
I don't think
Is
you see it.
No, I can't really. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any kind of script or.
You have to share the doc with him.
I did. Hey,
Oh,
Adeline, go to your Gmail.
the other email. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, well, I think another question is there anything in here, because we have totally just vomited into this document.
Yep.
Is there anything here that you think would be less interesting?
We could probably give up the tuning patches.
Yep. I think because if we're not going to have them right in front of us to read them off verbatim, it's not a point of mentioning it necessarily.
Well, and I think this is meant to be less of a news segment and more of a
Discussion.
discussion.
Free-form discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, going back to your intro, I would say, I mean, if you wanted that intro we had before, give it a name, and just kind of come out and say, as far as, you know, in terms of tagline, this is what this is. It's a discussion / story time of a couple of WoW content creators over the past month.
Good point.
Something along those lines. And then they kind of know what they're getting.
Okay. You really made it sound like this document was a lot worse than it is. Not too bad.
Did you feel a little threatened there for a second?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So I guess we can scrap the PTR patch notes because that's going to come up in news anyways. Whenever it
BRB,
is.
I'm going to take a leak before we go.
All right.
Go drain that lizard.
It's not supposed to leak. That means you're getting old.
Oi, my prostate.
Hey, so in regards to the AP grind, is it worth it? What are we getting at there? Like, isn't that pretty obvious?
It is and it isn't, because right now the 35th talent point was activated. 2 hours later, it was deactivated. I'm not sure about everybody else, but on my Alliance character, I've got 6 points sitting and waiting that I haven't put into anything purposely. Because from what I've heard, I don't know, I've only heard this like on social media and stuff, that they're going to be removing all 20 points that you put into that last talent. And I'm not sure if they're refunding you for that, or because they're adding 4 or 5 new talents to your weapon when 7.2 drops.
Yeah, they're going to be adding more. Yeah, they're growing the weapons.
So it's one of those things where it's like I'm not purposely going out and farming it anymore. I just keep accumulating it, and I'm using it. Mm-hmm. And I've got like 6 talent points saved up from that. But, I mean, am I going to lose that before 7.2 drops? I mean, am I going to have to regrind all that shit? I'm going to be pissed if I do, but...
Yeah.
So that's the conversation I'm thinking is like, so, A, have you guys been grinding? Like, have you been specifically grinding or just picking it up as you've been doing stuff?
Well, right? I've been grinding all the time, but not the type you're thinking of.
He's the hooker grinding.
Grinder.
Mailboxes don't count.
His type of grinding involves a left swipe.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'm glad I'm recording this.
I thought the mailboxes was good. None of you beat it.
You're recording that right now. See, that's the thing, right? So that's the part that makes it fun.
Yeah, this is the shit that we never get to hear.
So, yeah. All right. So, yeah.
Okay. So, I guess let's get this jig dig started. Unless, Annalyn, do you have anything you want to add on to this or anything like that, opinion-wise?
Can we get back to what like Foxy just asked real quick about like what the like actual goal of what we're looking at doing? Is it literally just? I mean, can we get any more specific? We're just trying to talk about like.
Just think of this like once a month of us as podcasters and content creators just getting together and just kind of shooting the shit, like what we've been up to, what we've been doing. What we've seen or experienced in the last month, and that kind of story time, right? And then, so I guess kind of that's the idea.
Be as serious as you want to.
Too. Your intro, Garrison, or both of you have been doing it lately in your podcast, and just go around the table and what have you been up to lately, and try and come up with something, an actual answer to that.
Well, just answer honestly. Like I've been playing WoW.
And from that, we can transition well into talking about RBGs on Sunday.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right,
Ryan.
Okay, here we go.
You have the keys to the kingdom.
Welcome to Flagged, a roundtable PvP discussion about the World of WarCraft, presented by Victors Sanctum, Technically PvP, and FoxyHippo's RBGs. And, as I mentioned, this is a free-form discussion podcast on PvP and WoW. Now, to introduce the hosts that we have on the show, we have Garrison and Annalyn from Technically PvP. Garrison, how are you tonight?
Doing awesome. Slowly recovering from the cold that almost took me out this weekend, but surviving. And thankfully I had some time off from work, so I was able to almost completely level a druid. So now I can boomkin with pride.
Nice. Did the cold at least buy you dinner and maybe take you to a movie?
No. In fact, actually, it didn't even give me a reach around.
That's terrible. And as I mentioned, Annalyn is also here. Annalyn, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well.
What have you been up to in the World of WarCraft as of recently?
I've been trying to get on some item level grind, just trying to push the stats a little bit in PvP, same type of thing that we all find ourselves doing.
That min-max.
Kind of grinding some artifact power and just trying to get some rating and experience with different other players and threes, and just I'm also been enjoying playing with a guild and trying to establish core RPG teams and all that fun stuff. So
nice. Sounds like you've been at least been active, which is a positive thing.
Sure.
And then we also have FoxyHippo. You'll recognize his voice if you check his channel out on YouTube, of the FoxyHippo RPGs YouTube channel. Foxy, how's your week been? Or month?
I've been awesome. I just I've been super busy. I haven't actually been in game too much. A little bit here and there. Been in a few other games with you guys as they've come up. We played some HOTS and a little bit of Overwatch lately, but I don't know. I've been house hunting and changing jobs, and real life has just been kicking me in the butt, and that's still ongoing. But I have managed to get into a couple of really good games. We did some really good RBGs on Sunday. And I think we're gonna probably talk about those a little bit later. And my other major accomplishment was finally unlocking the last relic slot for my demon hunter and his weapon. And I tell you, that quest line seemed to be infinitely longer than that for my warlock. I don't know. Maybe because it involved me running dungeons. That was probably the killer.
Possibly. The quest line is brutal. Sounds like you've been busy, and I know you've been doing the house hunting thing, so good luck to you in that department. I know it's been rough with you passing offers in and then having to compete with 900,000 people.
I tell you, people are willing to sell their soul for houses around here. It's ridiculous.
So if you own a house in the Colorado area, think about selling it.
Yeah, that's a good market.
Foxy wants your house. And then me. I'm RICP from the Victors Sanctum Podcast. I have two other hosts that are not here. Aaron is working. That'd be Confiscate. And then Jane. She doesn't play WoW yet. She hasn't resubbed. But when she does, maybe drag her on here. I've been up to pretty much, I guess, the same thing most of us have been up to necessarily. A lot of here and there WoW. Trying to think, we got up to 13 or 1400 when we did RBGs on Sunday on my my Alliance monk. I've been grinding out my Horde monk quite a bit. I've finally got all the talents put into him, and I've got my 25th artifact research dealie just today, I think it was, that I got that. But a little bit of HOTS here, and we're going to be playing quite a bit of HOTS in the next probably week or so because of the in promotion between World of WarCraft and Heroes of the Storm for the mount that you get in either one. It's fun stuff. A little bit of Overwatch with Jane. And been having a lot of fun recently, hanging out with friends and talking and playing. And we're starting to build quite the little community here, and I enjoy it quite a bit.
Nice.
So I guess...
I have to admit, I really enjoy the time that we've been playing together, and that you guys are pretty awesome. I'm glad I met you.
Ditto. I am too. It's always nice to have friends that you can count on and just hop in and voice chat with and do whatever. And Garasar was even nice enough to download Heroes of the Storm and play with us when he had no clue what he was doing.
Hey, that mount is sick. I would do it too.
That's the reason why.
It's completely selfish. Don't let him fool you.
It's absolutely selfish.
But I mean, I kind of owe you guys because you guys came along on the RBGs that I've been running on Sunday nights and carrying my butt. So, I mean, it kind of goes tit for tat there, right?
Well, I'm the only one that carries you because I got to heal your ass.
Well, I think
That's
you hold
true.
your own. It's the rest of the people you plug into those groups we got to carry.
So, speaking of which, just talking about everything we've been up to, we kind of all alluded to this, but all of us except for Andalin, just because his time zone doesn't really allow him to play with us Sunday nights. But we're out doing RBGs there again on Sundays. And there were some pretty epic matches. And I know you talked about this during your last podcast there, Rye, but I know Foxy was really, really happy with just how well his strat calling and able to strat call on the fly. That was pretty awesome. I don't know. What do you guys think? How'd you find
I don't know
it?
if it was all my strat calling, but I was floored that it worked. It was one of those where it's like, we're losing so horribly. I need to throw the biggest strat Hail Mary that I have in months, and it actually worked. That was, and I really wish I could have hit record before that, but I always forget to record things when I'm calling strat, because I just get caught up in what's their team, what's our team, what's our opener and whatnot. But we did an Eye of the Storm, and our MMR was like 1400. Half our team had 0 rating, just people we got out of Pug Finder. And then the opposite team was 1600 plus, and they just wrecked us in mid in team fights. They were sitting 2 frost mages at bases, and we had 2 hunters at our bases. And right from the very beginning, just their damage just wrecked us.
Oh, we had a hunter and rogue. We had a rogue over a DR.
Oh, that's right. We had a hunter and a rogue.
Mhm.
But
And I want
yeah.
to point this out. This is how bad it was. Is that all the mages did when they sat their flags was cast Blizzard over and over on top of the cap point.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. But I just want to point this out. This is how bad the strat started off with. Was we all rushed into the middle except for the 2 guys went to their spots, and as we're slamming into each other in the mid trying to get ownership of that flag. I can't remember who it was, but somebody called across on the Discord and went, "Oh yeah, you have to actually cap the flag, not you have to actually click on it."
Classic.
That was our strat. That was us,
YOLO.
right? Yeah. No, that was
it was worse than YOLO.
That was one of the pickups. That was one of the pickups. That
Well,
was one of
it was a step up from YOLO because we had voice.
That's true. But no, it was awesome. Like we're down in the middle, we're punching faces, but nothing was really dying. We were struggling. Then no, Rye, you called out you're out of mana. You guys had I think it was DK and a Paladin back there pissing you off.
Oh yeah.
All over top of you guys, and we're trying to get them off, but we just couldn't peel. And it was really interesting. We were really kind of holding our own, but then we started dying. We all died, and it kind of okay, that was that. And then we all rushed in
mana
there.
battle.
It became a mana battle. We were rushing in there. I remember we constantly were just rushing back into the middle. I'd die, somebody else would pick up target calling until I rezzed up and got back in there. And then I remember we're in there, and then all of a sudden I heard, I think it was the hunter. It's like, "Hey, should I join in on there?" And Foxy, I think that's when you first were like, "Yeah, all right, let's try."
It was perfect because I'm sitting here kind of a little frustrated, being in the middle. I'm in the team fight. I'm playing and I'm watching the targets, and at any point there's BGT's showing like maybe 3 people on target. We're calling targets pretty well, swapping off on cooldowns, and we were on target there, but we just had people who were very inexperienced, and we were not putting out the damage to get any kills, and we just had some solid healers that were keeping us up for a long time, but still it was rough. And when that hunter called out, "Hey, should we come in the middle?" It's like a light bulb went off in my mind. I look and see they have no stealth, and they have some mages that could stealth, but they're going to take their time getting over to cap us. And so I just pulled both hunters. I said, "Yeah, come to mid, both of you." And to our team's credit, we had, I know Rye and a couple other people were doing really quick peels. Whenever they saw anyone from their team pushing over to our bases, they peeled back to D those up really well. But for the longest time, we had a 10v8 in mid in Eye of the Storm, and that was the part that just floored me, that it actually worked. That nobody on their team saw that coming, called it out, that we were ghosting both our bases so early in the game.
From what I noticed when we were doing that is, I think they really underestimated us. I think they saw the way that the first team fight went in the middle and how a couple people overextended and were putting a lot of strain on the healers. And then we had, like Garrison said, we had 2 or 3 people that were back in the healers that we couldn't seem to remove and completely get them out. And then I think they let their guard down, because there came to a point in the fight where we were still scrumming in middle just to try to keep them in mid. When Foxy went over to FRR and he was trying to solo the mage, at one point we actually had them 4-capped on base while they were still scrumming in the middle.
Well, that's what happened, is they tunneled really hard, and while everybody else was able to peel away, they still managed to cap 3 or 4 flags on us, so we had to do something. And when I run with this group on Sundays, because it's a much lower rating, I tend to spec, you might say suboptimally, but it's just, I go with the full-on single target sort of arena type AFLOC spec, where I can dot up a single target with 5 UAs and keep them rolling consistently, and just keep that damage going. And so I basically I'm not a burst 1v1er, but I can go to a base and against a mage pretty consistently, especially if I've got any cooldowns down. And if it's not some amazing mage, I'll always throw out, there's probably someone out there that'll beat me. But if they don't call the ink and the other team's not watching, I have it. And that's what happened is basically I was able to slip away mid-fight, and they were tunneling so hard on just destroying us, which they were, that one at a time I was able to go over to one of their bases, solo the mage, cap it. Somebody else, I think our druid came along and held the base. And I immediately went to the other mage, soloed him, capped it, and then we had a 4 cap. And that's what really kind of allowed us to pull ahead.
Yeah, it was a good, and it was one of those things where it was just a last-second call. And it's not something that you plan to do this, but you just try to see what is going to work in the situation. And if we hadn't have tried it, we would have lost. So, I mean, there's no reason to not vacate both bases like that, because you're going to lose anyway. Right. What's the point?
Well, and it was good on the hunter for suggesting it too, because I was tunneling, and that happens as a strat caller, especially that early in the game, you call an opener, you put all this thought into it, and then you get into a team fight, and you think, well, this ought to work for a few minutes, and so I was kind of in team fight mode, and so when he called out, hey, we could pull away, we don't need anything, sitting here, taking up space. It was really helpful to me as a strat caller.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So in the end, though, that was the thing. Like once we got the 4, we pulled ahead. They finally went back and back capped. I think the 2 of them. But by that time, we were so far ahead, and then we just owned. Well, we didn't own the middle, but we were able to stop them from getting the flag, just spinning the flag. That they never were able to get back. So,
right.
Yeah.
I'm sure they were probably pretty sad about that.
They probably didn't know what happened because they had such control over team fights that they could not figure out as to why, much less one base got capped, but 2 bases got capped. And we no sooner had FRR cap and actually turn to when they went and capped it again. But that's all it takes is the disruption of points.
Exactly. So I just want to put on a side story for this, and it's kind of funny, is I've been so used to target calling, especially when I have you guys in the channel, that when you guys got me into Heroes of the Storm, a game that I have never played before. I want to be clear on this. I did the 2-part tutorial on Muradin, a warrior. I hop in there, and what was it? The first game I started target calling on you guys?
Yeah. But it's good. And I wanted to say this because we were talking about this before the show started. I'm not going to make fun of him for something that's a good habit to do, because you target call in Heroes of the Storm as well, or you should be if you're in voice chat. And it's the proper thing to do. And I thought it was hilarious, because Foxy pointed it out when you started saying it. I just kind of rolled with it, and I'm like, yeah, this is awesome.
It carries from one game to the next, that skill in particular. If you learn to target call well in WoW, you get into Overwatch and Heroes of the Storm. Maybe not so much in Hearthstone. If you were to start target calling, I think we'd have grounds for making fun of you.
That's the thing. It's funny you say it, because that's the kind of thing. The thing with target calling is it's one of those things that it requires you to be well versatile in other aspects of your game. So if you are able to do your rotation without having to focus completely on your rotation, it makes you a better DPSer or whatever rotation you're trying to attain for. And so when you're able to target call, it means you're not so focused on just making sure that you kill this guy, or making sure that you're, I don't know, maybe your healer's target calling crazy, just make sure you're not keeping your team up. So it's just a function of how good is your awareness of the game, and how comfortable are you with your ability to be able to notice the things going on around you, and notice when people are using particular cooldowns or trinkets or anything that's really going to help you get that edge on the next person.
Absolutely. And it's very important. And if you learn how to do it, I mean, it's very, very intimidating to learn how to target call at first. And there are some things that a lot of people might go a little more in depth when they target call than others. But to be able to just kind of look and assess what's going on at that moment and find out where the problem lies and what to do about it, I mean, that's the first step of target calling. Is as long as you can kind of do that equation in your head and go, okay, well, there's a demon hunter back in our healers, and he's blowing cooldowns, and our healers are running out of cooldowns. So obviously the problem is we need to get the demon hunter out of the healers. I mean,
I
that's
thought it
as
was
simple
all
as
about
it is.
just killing the healer.
Sometimes.
I'm kidding.
Personally, actually, half the time I go for the DPS, especially the melee. I want to try to take them down so they can't get back there pissing you guys off.
Because you're not a death knight and you don't tunnel a healer.
I was thinking about that. I was actually gonna look at boosting a DK to actually be able to target call and death grip. Yes, I am
It's
bowing
helpful.
down to the conversation we had with Arthur. But I don't want to give up. I love the Fury Warrior, and I've put so much time and effort into getting him where I am.
You know, honestly, warriors definitely, they have benefits, as well as, you know, DKs have benefits too. And a really good target caller is actually going to play Unholy because he's going to be able to smack everybody with, what the hell's that move, Fox?
Necrotic?
Necrotic.
Strike?
Yeah.
That is so terrible to try to have to heal through.
Yeah, it's pretty huge. But I'll say this is, and you guys are kind of, I know you're talking about in the podcast, and I heard this, is you guys talking about how you're enjoying me target calling. And honestly, I was never good at it. I just started doing it. I think part of the things that helped me was I had so many alts leveling up through the various expansions of this game that I have a pretty good grasp of each and every one of them. And then that's why I did the podcast, was to learn more about the other classes and what to look for. So I'll say, if anything, that was kind of my goal, was to learn how to do that. And I think I'm getting really good, but I know I have a lot to still learn and iterate on. But I don't know. Did you guys have any goals? How are you doing for season 2? Did you guys have any goals for season 2 or any ideas?
Andelin, you want to go on this one?
Well, for season 2, one of the primary things, I guess, I was looking, I had my own particular PvP goals, but, it's one of those things where the goals get thrown to the wayside because life comes into the equation, and your partners say, you know what, this game is getting so frustrating because there's been so many hot fixes left and right. It's tough because a lot of people, players from my experience, are used to, having the FODM atmosphere. I'm sure you guys, know that. And FODM doesn't really seem to last as long as it did in the past now that we're in Legion, which is probably a good thing. But I used to play with a Resto Druid and a Rogue, and we were playing Scooby-Doo for a little bit, and it just wasn't really, I don't know, getting frustrated with different hotfixes and how some classes would kind of rise to the top a little higher and then be hotfixed down later, and just so many changes. It's been hard to really keep a consistent player, arena team to be able to make good on any of these goals. So.
Yeah, it's understandable, especially when it seems like Blizzard has kind of embraced the hotfixing that they do in Heroes of the Storm now.
Yeah, it's good hotfixing, but I think maybe the player base may have more or less backing or something to say, like, that was a good fix, and maybe that wasn't really the best fix. Because I will admit, like, I don't work for Blizzard. I think it would be better if, and I think they're working on trying to be more transparent by saying, like, hey, here's our reasoning for why we made this change. We didn't just do this for no reason.
Yeah, they do that with the patch notes for sometimes in Heroes of the Storm, usually if it's on a read, like if they're visiting another character and they're redoing the character. And they do actually give a lot of good reasoning behind the Overwatch patch notes, I've noticed. But for WoW, they're starting to get a little bit better at that, to where they'll list some of the things as to these are our thoughts and this is what we're seeing, so we just felt this needed to be done.
Did they ever come out and actually say, when they do racial talent rebalancing, that or faction transfer profits were down this month?
No. They never did.
Okay. I'm still waiting for that.
That is a deep secret you'll never ever hear. And actually, since you did mention balancing and having goals and things like that, I guess my goals that I really had Season 2, the only thing that I really want to do is try to hit 2K again in RBGs, because I've done it once and I wanted to prove to myself that I'm able to do it again. I'm 1600 on my Horde, and I'm 1400 on my Alliance. And the problem is I don't have the time to play, because every time that I have an opportunity, it's never at a good point. It's never at a good time to where I can log in and play. So my time is to get into groups like that and to do things like that, unlike before, is actually rather limited. So I don't think that I set myself up for failure there. I just think that I didn't know if I was going to be able to achieve it this season, necessarily, I guess. But I have been doing
let's go through
threes.
goals and come back to the time topic. I think that's really interesting.
Okay.
Garrison, what were your goals?
One, improve my knowledge of World of Warcraft, PvP. 2, become a better target caller. And 3, I wanted to push my rating past my last season. So,
Which was?
I was hoping to get, oh shoot, what was it? I think I ended around 1500 or something like that. And I wanted to get up to 16, 17.
Okay.
So I still have time on that. I don't know if we're going to get there, especially with the groups that we've been making these last few weekends, and only playing one weekend and one day a night, or one day a week. Well, one day a night.
Yeah.
One night a week is not helping. But other than that, that wasn't a huge goal. I'm enjoying more about the learning process, and I find that I'm a much better target caller currently than I was at the end of season 1. And as far as just learning stuff, just continuing to do this podcast and just learning through playing I find my knowledge continues to increase.
Well, that's good,
So,
though, because you could see something coming out of this, even though it wasn't intended.
Yeah.
So,
Completely.
Foxy, how about you? What were your goals coming into Season 2? Did you have any?
Yeah, sort of. So in season 1, I did RBGs nightly till like 3 or 4 in the morning, and my life kind of suffered a little bit. It was a lot of fun. Met a lot of people. That was kind of it really gave me a lot of content for my YouTube channel. A lot of really good games came out of that. But in season 2, I realized, well, first off, it started with the holidays. Then I got sick for like several weeks in a row, and it just laid me out sick. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go level a boomkin. It was like, I'm not getting out of this bed, sort of sick. It was rough.
So like
But,
sapped IRL, right?
Yeah, sapped IRL for weeks on end. And then I started the whole house hunting bit. I changed contracts, which was, I'm a software contractor, IRL. And so when I change contracts, it's not like getting a whole new job, but it is sort of, because you have to, that first week of starting at a new place, you got to meet new people, remember their names, figure out what the heck you're doing and how to be productive. And so everything changes for me except for pretty much like where my paychecks come from. So that's been a bit of overhead in itself. So really my goals for season 2 have been survive and do enough PvP that I can still stay in touch and be able to provide good content on my channel. And during all this, it's been, I mean, you guys will know, you other hosts will know that I've been kind of doing a lot of soul searching in where I want to go with my channel, because I'm kind of to the point where I've kind of done videos for strats for all the different maps and a lot of the sort of evergreen content that's sort of easy to think of. Oh, how do you set a base and how do you strat call? How do you target call? I've done videos on all that stuff, at least 1 or 2. I think I'm up to 43 videos now.
You've even tried a little bit of podcasting too via your channel.
I did. And I invited you, Rye, and I've invited others to kind of just sit and chat with me for a while and make it into a video. And so I've been kind of thinking, what are some other types of content that I can do that aren't necessarily tied to the news, which, Victor Sanctum covers pretty well, or in-depth class analysis, which technically PvP covers pretty well. Most of my stuff is very centered around RPGs and very, as I say, evergreen. Actually, I'm taking this term from Garrison. I think he was the first one to say it. But the kind of stuff that hopefully won't go out of style or won't become invalid from one patch or one expansion to the next. So I've been asking myself, what sorts of things can I do with that? And that, you got to continue PvPing in order to think clearly on that, because otherwise it's like, why am I doing this whole channel about a game that I hardly get to play? So it's been a transitionary phase this whole season, and I've given myself a bye on rating. I still have 2 characters up in the 1800 CR in RPGs, just playing for fun and with groups that I get invited to. I've met a ton of people through YouTube. I get a lot of B-tag ads through that. I get to meet a lot of people. They're like, hey, I want to collab with you. And then they find out what it takes to actually do a YouTube video. And then they're like, well, maybe not. So that's been interesting. We'll talk about this a little bit later, I think. I think it'd be a good topic. But the difference between streaming, hitting record and then going and playing a game and being charismatic on camera maybe, and all the time and effort it takes to script and record and assemble a video or a podcast, it's very different.
I can concur that's true.
Yeah, I think I sacrifice maybe 2 nights every 2 weeks to podcasting, just between the recording and then the editing. So, and that's not to include the time I put into the show notes. That's just those 2 nights.
Yeah, and you're not playing games at that time either.
No,
correct.
I tried playing games. I tried playing games one time while podcasting. It did not work.
We kept getting cues.
Yeah, we kept getting BG cues that would interrupt us.
I just want to say this though, is that I can't take credit for the evergreen idea. That's from Hazakostas from the last BlizzCon. I just forwarded it from him. So anyway.
Okay, well, why don't we move this along a little bit here then?
Yeah.
Let's actually talk about the next thing that's on our list here, and it's just about goals, setting obtainable goals for PvP, and this doesn't necessarily mean that it's a short-term goal or anything like that. And I just want to mention to people, for those of you who have not heard, which if you listen to my podcast, Victor Sanctum, you've heard, or if you listen to Torn Think Tank, I was on there as well, and I talked about in the end of November when I went to an outpatient program for depression and anxiety and suicidal thoughts and things like that. One of the things that I learned while I was in the program for 14 days was to not self-destruct by setting goals you can't obtain, by being realistic. And what they're called is, it's referred to as a SMART goal, S-M-A-R-T. So your goal setting is specific, it's measurable, it's agreed upon, it's realistic, and it's time-based. And all 5 of these categories are very, very important. So when you want to do something specific, you don't want to set the bar too broad. So if you say, I want to PvP more, okay, you can do that, that's not a problem, but what are you trying to obtain from PvP? Well, I want to get ranked. Okay, well, I want to hit 1300. Great, there's your specific, right there. Measurable. How can you measure hitting 1500 in PvP? Okay, well, you can look at your rating. You can see, I've lost this much this match, and I've won this much in that match, and I can kind of measure how many matches or how long I'm going to have to play to be able to try to hit 1500. So it's measurable. Agreed upon. Agreed upon would be something to the effect of being able to understand your goal necessarily and not having it too wishy-washy. So you want to make sure that you're agreeing upon it. Realistic. Being realistic is always 100% encouraged in a lot of things in life, and much less setting goals, you should try to be realistic with yourself. I mean, we all have aspirations of, like in our notes here, it says, 2K plus, because what was brought up was people think that they're just going to try and hit 2K easy, because all the good players are like, 2K is simple to hit. Well, they're good players. They play a lot. So, I mean, that's the difference. If you don't have a lot of time to play, you may not hit 2K. You just have to be understandable and realistic to that. And then time-based. Now, for time-based, you want to set yourself a timeline. You want to put a deadline onto your goal. And the purpose for doing this is to try to roll everything else in the specific, measurable, agreed-upon, realistic, and time-based. Now, when you put all of those together, it actually creates something that not only you can witness and see that you're doing, but it's something that you can measure, and it's something that you can agree that you're doing it or not. It's something that's realistic, that, can I do this in this amount of time? Sometimes your goals may not be 100% realistic, but you won't know that until you try them. So, I just wanted to pass on some knowledge that I learned myself. SMART goals are fantastic, and they can be used in everyday life, not just this. So, since I've been talking for a minute here, who wants to take over here and talk a little bit about this?
So I want to chime in and say, the comment about 2K, I think another thing is that a lot of people are seeing 2K as sort of this elite club. And a lot of the people with 2K, they say, it's super easy and that, it's a problem. But a lot of those people aren't all that great. There's a lot of people who are not 2K players, but have 2K because of some of the darker side of PvP, being sort of the paid boosting services that are out there. I've spent a lot of time kind of just researching this a little bit, not because I want to pay someone these things, but because it's my soapbox. I really, really hate it, and I wish it would not exist. I understand why it exists, and I understand the business plan behind it, but I think in my mind, paying someone else to boost you 2K or something like that is really the equivalent of just paying someone to help you to be a more convincing liar, because you didn't do the work to get that. You didn't put it in the time. The amount of time that it takes to become a 2K player or 2K plus player, and we're saying 2K as a benchmark, but for anybody above that, I've played with guys who are 2.2, 2.3 and higher, and those guys and girls they spend a ton of time in the game honing their craft, and that a lot of them, that this is all they do. I've talked to a lot of them. I'm like, well, do you have other hobbies? No. Do you go to school? Well, yeah, sort of. More or less than I should. And I've kind of been there. I've been I played when I was in school a little bit, but it's like, once you kind of get to a point in life where you've maybe got other interests, or you started a YouTube channel or a podcast, that stuff takes time, which we've alluded to. If you've got a family, if you attend a church, if you do anything that takes away from, game time, that's cutting into the time that you have available to get to 2K in arenas or RPGs or whatever your goal is. And then if you're further dividing that with raids and dungeons and maybe being an officer in your guild and all the stuff that's technically in game but not necessarily oriented towards your goal in PvP, then you're just hamstringing yourself along the way. So I've met a lot of people who came in or they were buddies of mine. Maybe I've run RPGs with them. I have them on VTAG for some reason, and they come in to my chat channels or whisper me, and they're like, "Hey, I'm going to hit 2K this season." And I'm like, "Well, were you 2K last season? No. Were you 1900? No. Were you were you anywhere close to that? No. But I've been doing RPGs, or I've been doing raids all throughout Legion, really enjoying it. But now I've seen all that content. Now I'm ready to do RPGs, and I'm going to hit 2K because there's lots of people that do it. It'll be easy." And for some people it is, but they have the time. They really do.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right in that a lot of people don't realize how much time it takes to get there. It is a grind. And Rye, I really like that you shared the SMART. That's really awesome. I think even myself, like I'm pretty good on making realistic goals, but sometimes I fail to do that. I want to go for the moon, and that really is a good thing. I'm glad you talked about that. If you don't mind, though, I would like to talk about one other grind that, while boosting is Foxy's little soapbox, I want to talk about the artifact power grind, if I can.
Sure.
'Cause,
Floor is yours.
I'm so I've been playing fairly casually this X pack. I didn't rush in and try to grind out as fast as I could to get to level 110 to only do the next grind or whatever. I knew from the patch notes and listening to all the data mining that was coming from Wowhead and all that prior to the X pack that there was a lot of grinding that they're putting into this. It was kind of cool. They had some front end that really made it exciting, like the world quest and that. The leveling, the order hall class, the class order hall storylines and all that. And it seemed really cool, but ultimately what it was just a whole bunch of grinding. And then as I got into it, I realized just how much grinding that artifact power thing was. I maxed out my artifact knowledge, and even then, like I think I'm at 37 or 38 traits now on my weapons for my Fury Warrior, but I haven't been actually grinding them. And even now, like I'm starting to find myself where like I log in and it's like I look at that map of all the world quests, I'm like, all right,
Yep.
I skip it and I do like a random BG or two. I get some artifact power if I win. I get less if I lose. I still get some artifact power, but it's peanuts because it's like 5,000 when I need like 2 million, 2.5 million,
Yeah.
right?
But
So,
the important thing is with that, though, is you're now kind of doing what you want to do. You don't feel like you're a slave to doing those world quests. And to be completely honest, I'm the same way on both of my characters now. I'm just like, I don't want to do all those quests. I'll do them if I'm bored and if I'm in the mood.
But this is the thing that gets me, though, is now I'm starting to feel like I'm behind because I see 7.2 leaning up ahead. There's all this stuff that's coming in. Season 2 is ending, I'm assuming, mid-March, in which case the 35th trait plus is going to get activated on our weapons for PvP. So now I'm feeling the crunch again. Like I need to actually start farming this stuff, but I still don't really want to. And now I'm finding that so I'm fearful that I'm going to be behind in a whole bunch of other stuff, and that's an anxiety moment that I've had. And I saw something on Twitter, and it's really kind of interesting. And this is the part I'm wondering: is have you guys felt the need to grind out enough artifact power to like level your weapons to maximum? Have you guys felt the need to do any of this grind, or have you guys felt that just kind of at your pace, whatever it was, is good enough, and when you get there, you get there?
I haven't at all.
Yeah, at first
Not
I
at all.
did. And it consumed me for the longest time where I would do every order resource quest that was out there, and I would do every artifact power quest that was out there. And I did it because I was trying to stay ahead of the curve. And as a healer, it's important that you do that because the better geared you are, the more it's going to show in battlegrounds and PvP and things like that. But as of recent, probably since, I would say, November, since BlizzCon or so, I really haven't been like 100% into it. I've been like, well, okay, yes, unless it's like an unbelievably long or huge amount, like if it's 300,000 artifact power, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'll go do that because it's 300,000.
In my case, I've done enough PvP that I haven't done. Like, if I go out and do world quests, it's for getting those stupid order resources. That's what it's for. And I only do that to the point where it's like, okay, I haven't maxed out my artifact knowledge. So I focus really hard on getting max artifact knowledge. And then after that, I don't really do world quests unless I'm really, really bored. um, unless it's on a new character, a new alt or something. Because doing PvP, if you go in, do a skirmish, and do a regular BG, and then maybe do a couple, and you do those one each day because there's a a first time bonus to your rewards.
Mm-hmm.
Then do RBGs after that. Between the PvP honor system rewards and the rewards from winning in RBGs, I've managed to max out my traits at least to the point where it doesn't matter in PvP anymore because they don't count that last goal still. But fairly easily without doing any real world quest grind.
Yeah, and that's kind of been my experience as well. Like, recently, my thing was I wanted to try and get into the PvE side because, I mean, if you'll allow me to be blunt for a second, it's a lot easier to PvE than it is to PvP. It's just it's in the same way that you can allow for mistakes in RBGs that will cost you more. So in Arena, it's just in certain ways, objectively, it is. I mean, of course, I don't want to offend anyone by saying objectively that it is, like, just straight over blanketing, because yes, if you're a Mythic Raider, you have a lot that you have to be responsible for, and there's a lot of work that goes involved with it. I don't mean to undermine any of that, but getting back to what I was originally saying, I've been trying to get higher item level in order to be able to do some type of heroic, any type of rating like that, because that item level increase does help you in PvP. You get those additional stats. There is a benefit to being 910 over 870, which is still a good item level, but there's a benefit to having that type of gear in PvP. And so me trying to having all this time now and playing much more often than I did, that's an attainable goal that I want to try and see. So when I've been trying to just get an item level, so what I've been doing is I've just been affixing myself to some other goal, and the artifact power has come. I've kind of gotten, maybe in the past 5 days, I've maybe farmed up about 12 million.
Nice.
So I think if you take maybe another goal and say, all right, I want to become a better PvPer. So let's say I play a Ret Paladin, and let's say, okay, well, I really need to get better supporting people. I can do damage, I can do that all really well, but I'm really weak with my Blessing of Sanctuary. I really don't know who I should put my blessings on and that type of thing. I'm gonna try and play some skirms, try to find two other people, play some threes, and make my macro for my healer for Sanctuary, and really try and focus on that, and try and see if I can always get every fear. Can I always get a silence? And that type of thing. Help your healer out. And I mean, you can break that down for any class that you play, really. And if you do that, you'll run those skirms. You'll play that, and if you're running those arenas or running those skirms, that artifact power will start to build up. In the off time, just do your emissary quest. Just do that bare minimum. It's like what, 3 or 4 world quests? You can do that in less than 20 minutes, and that's already. That's a solid amount of artifact power, a chance at a legendary, and it gives you like 800 to 1,000 order hall resources. So that's kind of what I've kind of seen as like a nice framework of, hey, that's not too bad. What do you guys think?
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing. Like, I was doing emissary quests up until I got all of my reputations to Exalted, and then I was like, I was just kind of burnt out. Like, all those quests, yeah, they're interesting, but the cycle ends up starting repeating, and then you just see them all again. So, I guess this is the other question, and I know, Rye, you were talking about this before we started the podcast. So, any artifact power I've been getting, especially since 715 dropped, I've been sinking into my weapons, knowing that 35th plus trait was going to get activated eventually. But you've not been doing that. Sorry. I've been gaining levels on my artifact, and I've been sinking it into my golden trait to get that extra damage. But you haven't, you were saying, right?
No, I haven't. And the purpose for me doing that is because it's not active currently, and from what I have heard on social media, that they're going to be removing the 20 talents, I guess, or 20 plus talents that are going into that final golden that you unlock. And I haven't heard if they're refunding people for it. I mean, it's been mentioned, but I'm not sure if that's, official mention of it. But what I've been doing is I've just been sitting on them. I think I have upwards of 14 to 16 million artifact points just sitting waiting to be spent. And I'm not sure what's going to happen to them either. I mean, I'm not sure if when 7.2 comes around, it's going to just, roll it back to, when you get your 35th talent point and you got to start earning them. Because if so, I'm going to be a little disappointed, I guess, because I am occasionally going out of my way, as Annalyn said, I'm doing, the emissary missions for a chance at a legendary or this or that and things like that. And you're going to acquire, I would prefer to do the attack or the artifact power quests before I do, say, the gear quest. Because the gear quest you get, at this point, there's not any chance really of me getting an upgraded item that's going to be better than what I'm getting from PvP.
I think in my case, I'm still to the point where any extra AP that I pick up above that top talent, I sink into my off specs. So like on my Warlock, I've got maxed, up to that 25th talent. On my Affliction Lock, I'm on the 24th talent. Destro spec, that one, then I'll start into demo. But I remember at the beginning of season 1 where, and Andolin mentioned these the hot fixes coming in, and one from one day to the next, one spec's better than the other, and then it swaps, and then except for Mystery Monks, they're gods throughout all of Legion.
Thank you.
All the time.
Thank you.
But I remember at the beginning of season 1, at least, there was a time when suddenly, for like all of a month, I don't remember how long it was, but Destro locks were the thing to do, and then it was demo locks after that, and everybody's like, "Are you Destro or are you demo?" And it was kind of hard for that time for me to get into groups, and I was like, "No, I've learned to play AF really well, and yeah, it's not the meta all of a sudden, as for a long time, but for all of a sudden, because of some patch or some thing or some gimmick that you all watched the high-rated players doing, you want Destro or demo, and the reality is I didn't have all the time, and not just time, but all the artifact power in those specs. Going forward, if I've got extra artifact power, I stick it on in those off specs so that when that happens, I can say, okay, now it's not such a cost or barrier to entry for me to go and swap specs in the OP class of the season.
Yeah. See, I've got Mistweaver to 35. I've got my Brewmaster to 35. And I've got my Horde Mistweaver to 35.
Wow.
35 or 25? I think I said
35.
25. I meant 35.
Yeah, I've got Brewmaster Max on my Alliance and Mistweaver. And I actually put 1 point into the one after 35, so I have 36 into that one. And then my Horde one, I just hit 35 last week, I think.
Okay. I think I have 35. Well, I have more than 35 in my Fury, 35 in my Arms, and I think I'm at 30 on my Prot, which I stopped because I'm never going to tank. So
Sure. Well, what people may not yeah, what people may not realize is once you finally get your 25th artifact research, it's very, very easy. It's a lot quicker to level the next weapon that you're going to level, because you're getting 81,000 for a small one, or you're getting 150,000 for a blue one, and 300,000 for purples, if not more. And some of those are PvP drops too. Like I've had PvP ones that are 350 and 400,000.
yeah, those things are epic. All right, guys. I think we've we've done this one pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Anlin, would you like to talk about the Rogue Mage X discussion?
What's that?
Would you like to lead us with the Rogue Mage X discussion?
Oh, yes. So, I guess one of the recent things here that, are we looking just to talk about, like, what are we wanting to focus on with it? Just how people are thinking it's like, incredibly overpowered right now?
Essentially.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, it is. But anyway, so I think there's a post here that we're looking at from, let's see if it comes up here. What is it? Is it Lore who posted it on the forums? Yeah,
there was a
Lore.
post. Yeah, that was Lore.
So I guess what he's saying is that he thinks that the RMX comps work well, and if the comps are the only ones that work well, to put it another way, we wouldn't want to nerf Rogue Mage to the point that no one wants to play it anymore, but we wouldn't want to let it be grossly overpowered either. He goes on to say, I don't have any specific changes to share at this time, but we wanted to let you know that we're actively discussing that, and the feedback that we've gotten through this thread and other areas as well has been very helpful in isolating exactly what your concerns are. So I guess, rightfully so, there's been a lot of rabble in the community about how just Rogue Mage X, particularly Rogue Mage Druid, has just a little too much power. And I've noticed that a lot of these, have you noticed that a lot of the mages, they've been posting a lot of these YouTube videos about how easy it is to just level somebody, to just 100 to 0 people. I've seen people, it's incredibly easy and it's incredibly repeatable for fire mages, for frost mages, and arcane all alike. Have you guys seen these videos?
I've experienced frost.
I haven't seen the videos per se, but I've seen it in action on stream, and it's amazing. And I think we watched it actually Sunday night when Confiscate was in there on his mage.
Yeah, he's on an arcane mage that doesn't have but 6 of his honor levels unlocked and way behind on artifact power points, and he was lighting people up.
Yeah, he's just PV. He's PV rotating and lighting people up. So. Yeah,
I've been at the hands of a frost mage. World PvP, 1.7 million. What the hell's the ice move they use?
Glacial Spike.
That one. Yeah. I've been at the hands of in instanced PvP. Arcane mages are nuts with burst. And then fire is just so fluctuating. I mean, you'll get a ton of burst and it'll kind of reside. And then if you dispel things off, it's fine. And then here comes more burst.
Yeah. Yesterday I watched in reference, like, one of these videos that my favorite mage, Zardu, shout out to him, he's awesome. But he's not helping me right now. Come on, bro. But he released a video of, like, how the new burst one-shot for Frost Mage, essentially, where what they do is they're able to use this type of mechanic where when you get your Fingers of Frost procs and your Brain Freeze, right, your instant flurry, I don't know how well you guys know mages, but you get an instant flurry, which is a good amount of damage. What they can do is Ebon Bolt gives you an instant flurry. So what he does is he says, look, if you cast Ebon Bolt, you've got your Fingers of Frost up, and then as soon as while your Ebon Bolt's casting, if you just sit there and spam your flurry proc, you'll send it out, and once your Ebon Bolt hits, you'll get another flurry proc, and then you'll be able to send that one out as well. And those, plus your 2 Fingers of Frost, will kill anybody.
That reminds me of the fire mages from MoP that were Pyroblast, just nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's talking about he's using the time to travel as a time gap between, so you can get double proc.
Yep.
That's smart to do.
Wow. Yep, it is. Well, until Blizzard changes the time to travel, I think will travel faster. But
well, we'll see. We'll see.
It depends.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
I actually do agree. I think that this discussion with Rogue Mage X is always happening, but they have the history to show who's won the last 2 BlizzCons. I mean, it's been Rogue Mage X. Always. And they're always dominating the brackets. And I think that maybe with all the restructuring they did with PvP, that they now kind of turn and they look and find out maybe why the synergy of those 3 classes are so good. You know, what can they do to other classes to have similar synergy, to be able to compete at the same level as RMD or whatever.
I think a lot of it is the synergy, though. 1v1 against some of those guys. I mean, I actually enjoy 1v1ing mages in BGs and such. And a lot of that comes down to Nether Ward and multiple interrupts that I have. But yeah, it is the synergy, because I can't do that if I have a rogue on my back.
True. And it's not the class itself, and I think that's what's the most important thing to point out about this, is everyone's crying about the classes. It's the synergy between the classes that make them as deadly and as kind of face-rolling as they are.
Well, I think one of the key factors is the CC ability, because you have Rogue's Blinds, which are on its own cooldown, with kidney shots, the stunts, all right?
Best stun in PvP right now.
Shot, right? So when you pair that with the ability to have a spammable in-cap polymorph and a spammable, what is Cyclone? Disorient?
It's a demon, a ban one. No. It's considered a banish now, I think.
A banish, yeah, that's right. That's right. So when you have those as spammable options, you can you completely take out people out of the fight. Like that's when you get a team, and when RMD has worked well enough to where you're playing at such a high level, where you're making sure that you're getting the full use out of your Cyclone, you know, your full Cyclone, half Cyclone mini, and then the sheep picks off right where it left off. The rogue throws a blind. You've got plenty of time to make mistakes, and even if you don't make mistakes, you have plenty of time to just level the whole entire team before the healer gets out of CC.
Yep, and then that also pushes the point of, do I use my CC now? Do I have the cohesion on my team to be able to try to peel, you know, off of the other person being focused?
Mm-hmm.
So I have one question, and this is a little tongue-in-cheek, but I wonder how many of these people that we saw over social media, and don't get me wrong, this comp is pretty good. It's really got some viability to it, as it always has. But how many of these other people, where they have one class, maybe 2, but they only have really one comp that they're playing, and they're expecting to win and finding that they're not, due to some of the tuning changes that have happened recently. And I ask this because... Sorry, say again?
They're all warriors, right? Everyone on the forums, they're all Fury warriors.
I don't think so. Okay. I think there's been druids, there's been boomies, there's been a bunch of other people. Now, the reason why I asked this is because I did notice a tweet by a PvPer who put out saying, try the Hunter Death Knight Druid as a counter comp to this. And I find this often in NA, where there's a tuning change, a slight change in the flavor of the month, if you will, or change in that. But people keep what they have, and they don't try to change it up very much until the 1 or 2 3K rating, you know, the top end rating people find that comp, and then all of a sudden everybody switches over to it. I'm just wondering. I guess it's kind of calling it out. Like, yeah, okay, so there's a comp that's really, really strong, and I'm wondering how many other comps have people tried to find the counter to that, rather than immediately go to the forums and cry, "Oh my god, I can't play this game anymore."
Well, the problem with that...
Okay, go ahead.
The problem with that is the fact that most people who frequent the forums and they don't give some kind of a level emotional positive feedback on things are people who really don't know how to PvP at a high level. Like, they don't use CC to the fullest potential that it could be used to, like you see in Global Cooldown TV or on the, BlizzCon finals. People don't play like that. That is like maybe the top 5% of all WoW PvP of everybody that plays. People in our brackets don't even play like that. We were commenting Sunday about how we had people who could CC and weren't in our group. Like, we were being CC'd and nobody was CCing them. So, I mean, a lot of it rests on player skill and skill cap of a player. But I think there is some truth to it, to the fact that, once one person may point something out, then everyone else comes out of the woodwork, cries wolf.
I think it's also asking people to change the way they play, and nobody likes change. Same way with when certain classes won't get into higher rating push RBGs because meta. They don't want to. One, they don't want to network more to broaden their opportunities. They don't want to roll a different class because, like I was saying earlier, I had invested all this time in learning Affliction Warlock. At the time, the artifact knowledge catch-ups weren't. I don't think they were even. But people don't want to go and learn other classes. They've invested and identified themselves with a character that they like. Garrison mentioned that he likes his Fury Warrior, and that having to level, you had to get sick in order to get into the mental state to go level an alt to get into the meta.
Well,
right?
Look at me. I mean, what do I play? What do you always see me play?
Right, and the day that monks go out of style, well, I wonder if the Victors Sanctum podcast will continue.
I've played it throughout the entire thing, so I mean, it's something that I personally identify with and I personally like. I enjoy playing the class, and that's why I continue to play it. Is because I get a personal enjoyment and I get a feeling of satisfaction when I do play it. Granted, all of Mists of Pandaria were overpowered, and right now we're pretty high on the food chain for a lot of the things. But being how balance is done in threes, we're not super overpowered in threes. There's other healers that are better than us in threes.
Well, it's just because you haven't played Ret Paladin. That's why you are not addicted to it.
No, I've played Ret before, and I can't play melee at all. I've tried to play Windwalker too, and I look like a fool trying to run after people.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that they've done a decent job with balancing the healers, and so, it does allow you to really not be like, because it's unfortunate a lot of times when it's like, no matter what hybrid melee caster comp you play, forget it. If you don't bring an H-Pal, you're gonna lose. It's silly.
It is silly.
I like the diversity and the options between different healers and having, these healers bring this to the table and these healers bring that.
Well, in arenas and.
Well, in RBGs too, I feel. Just because right now Mistweavers are kind of the meta in RBGs does not mean that other healers don't. I mean, a good player with somebody else that's, say, a Resto Shaman, they're going to bring qualities if they're a very good player that sometimes, you're not going to get even if you bring a Mistweaver who's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my personal opinion. So
I think that's true up to a point. I think we get away with a lot up until... I'll throw numbers out there, say the 17 to 1800s. I think you can get away with quite a lot. And then as soon as you start pushing up into that point where you actually lose rating when you lose games, then you start needing to pay attention. It's because kind of the reason why people like taking Mistweavers is they stay alive. And I've seen some really good players that played, Resto Shaman nuked. And they cry and cause all kinds of drama about no one's feeling for me. And with a Mistweaver, it's like, well, I didn't need to peel for him because he's got Teleport and Chi Torpedo and Ring of Peace. So much stuff that's get away.
I'm waiting for that to get nerfed, by the way.
I don't think it's gonna.
Yeah.
It is so OP.
I think it's going to stick around. And yes, it is OP, but I think it's going to stick around. Yeah,
But
at worst, it might get a addition. The cooldown may be changed so it's a little bit longer because
Yeah.
it's a little spammable. But yeah.
Do you think
Alright.
it's at all possible that maybe some of these? Because I notice a lot of resto druids do say the exact same thing. To which a lot of the times I've heard the witty retort of, "Well, gee, how hard is it to put hots on yourself and sit in bear form?" Which you're not wrong, but like, do you think it's possibly there may be some truth to it that healers who are maybe not, just the best of the best, the creme de la creme of what they do, they look and they say, well, who's healing really well? And they look at these Mistweavers as a resto druid maybe and say like, oh, well, he's just kiting his DPS. So maybe these resto druids are trying to go about the strategies that work with Mistweavers that just don't quite work with the resto druid.
Some. I mean, at least when I do RBGs with Garrusar and other people, that I usually am 1 or 2 on heals, and resto druids are quite a bit below me heal-wise. And it does help that I've played since this class came out and MOP, and it does help that I've had to relearn the class 4 to 5 times because of all the changes. But I think the most thing that really is helpful is the fact that I've always stayed connected with this class, and I continue to try to make it work. I find ways to make things work.
Most of the resto druids I've played with at 17, 1800 ER ratings, they generally top the heals. Despite, I mean, if we go in and we have 2 Mistweavers and a resto, and everybody's sort of equally in the team fight, more often than not, the resto druids end up topping the numbers in pure heals, but they have a little bit harder time getting away. And if
And they
you
don't have
factor in
dispels.
well, if you factor, yeah, they don't dispel at all, most of them. So if you factor in that Mistweavers are just behind them, in my case, and Mistweavers are putting out 80 to 100 dispels per game, I still prefer the Mistweavers in most cases.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've that was a good conversation.
I agree.
I think at the end we're gonna keep playing this most likely. Except for me, I'm gonna now switch over to Heroes of the Storm. So, just kidding. But
They need a Fury Warrior for you in Heroes of the Storm. Proper
They do.
Fury Warrior.
They do.
No, his
they
name
have
is-
one. Varian.
Do they?
yeah.
Yeah, Varian can
Yeah.
do 3 roles. He's, depending on how you spec him. He could be a Fury Warrior, he could be an Arms Warrior, he could be Brought.
Okay. You need to learn that one, Garrusar.
He's actually
What-
overpowered as hell. He
I'll
really
I'll
is.
have to get him when I can. That'll be my next step once I get Muradin down.
Play Ragnaros and push lanes.
There you go.
GG.
Lava Wave. Okay, well, I guess we'll wrap this one up. It's been about an hour and a half. So I want to thank everybody. And let's go ahead and let's throw some stuff out here for people. We'll start with Garrusar. Garrusar, do you want to give a quick summary of the content that you've put out this month, where people can find you, and things like that?
Yeah, sure. So if anybody wants to find us, we're technically _PvP on Twitter, technically PvP at gmail.com. And as far as what we've been up to, the last few podcasts have been around the 2-hour mark, covering classes and the big cooldowns that you can see in PvP. Basically, the 1 to 3 minute cooldowns you're going to see a class pop, either in defensive, healing, or attack. And yeah, that's usually what we do. We really delve into that technical, analytical aspect of PvP. And Adeline is great with that. He really helps keep me centered and brings an awesome aspect in that conversation.
I would agree to
Thank you,
that.
sir. I
The
appreciate
Zen
that.
Rep Pally.
Yes. You can never have too much rep pally. It's like cowbell.
I can almost agree with that. Sometimes I wish I had a Rep Pally in real life.
I need more Rat Pally. Come on, just give me more Rat Pally.
That's going to be the name of some Paladin's macro. More calories.
I'll tell you, there's some days at work where I wish I could bubble her IRL, but
Oh,
Got a fever
don't we
for
all,
red.
don't we all?
If only.
All right.
Yes.
Andolin, you want to let everyone know what you've been up to and where they can find you?
Yeah, so I will also be, in case I'm also one of the hosts for Technically PvP podcast. In our next episode, we will be discussing Negron Arena, right?
Yeah, correct.
So if you're interested in possibly listening to positioning, different strategies, and maybe getting some cool info about the redesign of that, we'd love to have you listen to us at Technically PvP. Individually, you can find me at Andolin1244 on Twitter. I try to stay somewhat active and play on Horde Tichondrius. That's also my battle tech, so please feel free to add me. And I'm all for always playing.
Awesome. Thank you. And Foxy, you want to let people know a little bit about what you've been up to this last month and where they can find you?
All right, I'm on YouTube. If you search for FoxyHippo without a space between those, actually, I think if you search for FoxyHippo with a space, you might even find a few things. But, yep, I'm the fourth and the first result on that one. Anyway, you'll find my channel. I put out, as we said, evergreen sort of RBG strats and tips videos, all about RBGs in general. Over the last month, I've put out 4 videos. I do 1 video every Sunday, and so I did one that was a dispel, one about dispelling dots, and that was a podcasty type video where I invited RICP from the Victors Sanctum Podcast to join me just for a bit of a chat. And then I've done getting past 2K XP achievement requirements on RBG groups. I've done successful RBG comps where we talk and looking up the stats for who's playing what at rankings, so you can kind of understand why nobody will take your class, given the patch notes. And then last week I did why you should do YOLO RBGs, which was a bit of a controversial video for myself, because most of my videos are why you should not YOLO and actually put in more effort in building a group, doing comms and whatnot. But in my journeys, I found that there is a niche for such things, and I thoughts in that one. Next week, I'm looking at continuing that thread and doing basically a quick how-to on if you're brand new to running your own RPGs, and you just want to do YOLOs to start, and focus on the group building aspect and just maybe typing out some strats at the beginning of the game. I'm going to do a short video on that. Like I said, I've got some more ideas on the horizon, some more collabs with these guys, RICP and Garrasar, that we're planning out, scripting a little bit. So lots more to come. And, feel free to drop by and check me out.
Absolutely.
Hey, Foxy.
What?
Foxy, when are we doing that one collab where it's going to be how to earn money on the mailbox?
How to earn money on the mailbox.
Yeah. Is that next week or is that like next
I need to find a mailbox inside of a rated battleground, because then it would be applicable. Otherwise, I think we'll have to save that collab for your channel because it's more analytical, I think, more number centric.
I got this covered. Next time we do RBGs, I'll drop Molly.
There we go. There we go. So,
all right.
That'll be interesting.
If you understood that joke, leave a comment or write in.
Oh, yeah, and you can also find Foxy. He posts Sundays as well. He posts in our blog. I'm RICP, and I am the host of the Victors Sanctum Podcast. We've got 2 other people who also co-host with me. Jane, she mostly plays Overwatch. She's pretty heavily into it. And we've got Aaron, Confiscate. Aaron plays Heroes of the Storm, Hearthstone, Overwatch, and WoW PvP. Actually, Foxy, Aaron, and myself are trying to put together a 3s team where it's pretty much just like a plague team. I'm on my Mistweaver healing Horde side, Foxy's on his Affliction Lock, and Confiscate has been playing an Unholy Death Knight, but he hasn't gotten his, what is it, Plague Strike?
Necrotic Strike.
Necrotic, yeah.
So we're not quite taking on the RMX comps yet.
Not yet.
There.
We got to
Eventually.
1,500 before we started losing, though. Like
Yeah,
we were destroying
we
people
were
without
100%
necrotic.
win rate then.
Yeah, and then we lost 2 or 3, so we decided to just kind of shelve it for that point because we were obviously getting into the different bracket, and we really need necrotic to be able to try to push farther. But yeah, I do Twitch a lot more recently. If you guys want to follow me on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/RICP1209. You can actually find this video tonight. It's just going to be a splash screen video. It didn't have any cameras or anything like that, but it'll have the audio. We've got, occasionally I've been doing a lot more Photoshop. I'm streaming it, so if anyone's interested to see, you know, photo editing or anything like that. I'm all self-taught. I'm not professional by any means or anything like that, but I like it. It's fun. And you can look me up on Twitter. That's at RICP1209. You can find Victors Sanctum on Twitter at Victors Sanctum. That's VICTER or ORSSANCTUM.com. Our website is victorsanctum.com, same spelling. We've got a blog there, as I mentioned. We also have the podcast that comes out every week. We record Monday nights at 8 p.m. The news podcast comes out towards the end of the week. Usually it's on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Jane records that with me. And we actually have been looking for some content creators. So if anyone has got you know, some funny things you want to send in and have played at the end of the shows, or you would like to blog, if you want to share your opinion online and you feel like that, you know, you can contribute, contact us at victorsanctum@gmail.com. And we can look into putting you can do vlogs like Foxy does. You can do blogs themselves like I and a few other people do as well. You're more than welcome to come and try to join us and kind of get our community a little bit rounded out. And, yeah, as the notes just say here, shit, I forgot Winstead. Winstead, you're not forgotten, sir. We remembered you. He was not able to be here tonight. He normally is on the Technical PvP podcast, but tonight he was not able to make it, and we miss you. I'm pretty sure that Foxy wouldn't have to hump a mailbox if Winstead was here. He would totally hump his leg.
I'm not going to say anything to that.
Guilty as charged.
Awkward silence follows that kind of joke.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Ryan.
Absolutely. Garrett, so you want to close us out here?
This episode is brought to you by the letter B and the color red.
That's staying in, because that's amazing.
That's funny. That's funny.
In the tears of
All right,
our
guys.
warriors.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the show, and we'll see you next month. Bye-bye.
Catch you next month. Amazing. Okay.
Awesome.